I'm watching the best commercials of the 90s, and there's this Cartoon Network commercial where Fred Flintstone and Chicken from Cow and Chicken and He-Man are driving around looking for a parking spot on the Cartoon Network parking lot. And they're like, there's too many Cartoon Networks adding new cartoons all the time, and they can't find a parking spot, and they finally find one, and it's reserved for Papa Smurf. And He-Man's like, Papa Smurf, corrupted by his own power. It's a fantastic commercial. Space Ghost.
I can never get into that show.
Oh, man. I flew into work today. And then they race Speed Racer and Scooby-Doo to the parking spot. Oh, so good. It was good marketing. Good marketing. Because it plays on so many, like, cartoon tropes in one commercial. Whoever did it did great. Oh, Earthworm Jim toys. That's one set that I don't have anymore.
Guys, give me one quick second. Hello?
Kid and Peele? Ooh.
Kid and Peele. It's like combining so many things.
Yeah, Jordan Peele. I was thinking of Kid and Play. I like Sprite. I like it a lot. Wait, was Play from Kid and Play the guy who also played on the Cosby Show?
I don't think so.
Yeah, Refrigerator Raider, Mighty Max, that was another one that I remember watching all the time. Down with Zelda. Down with Zelda. Dip into the overhead view, because a man's got to do what a man's got to do. When everybody was trying to get into, like, be cool, and so they were doing rap. It was terrible. It was terrible, but...
We are live streaming.
Are we streaming? Okay, cool. What are some other 90s commercials that I remember? Mentos fresh as a full of life. Ooh, Bart Simpson in the nobody better lay a finger on my butterfinger.
Yeah.
Oh, or the first commercial for Super Smash Brothers. Do you remember that one? It's all the Nintendo characters. I mean, they're adults dressed in like the big, puffy, like air puff costumes.
Oh yeah, yeah.
They're all jogging down the hill, all being friends and everything. All of a sudden, they start.
I do remember that.
Each other. It gets so violent, so quick. You're like, what is happening?
Me and you and me, no matter how they toss the dice.
Oh yeah, I do remember that. Let me do a video capture for those at home.
What are you capturing?
I found the commercial. It's on the live stream.
Me and you, and you and me, no matter
seem to be
how they
working.
toss the
This is the one. Play.
It's trying. It doesn't like that.
Is it because it's not?
Hold on. I gotta do display capture.
Me and you, and you and me, no matter how they toss the dice, it had to be. The only one for me is you. Happy together.
Something's gone
Yep,
wrong
this
in the
is the one.
happy-go-lucky world of
hear it.
Nintendo. Introducing Super Smash Brothers, where all your favorite characters go toe-to-toe in one 4-player star-studded slam fest, only on Nintendo 64.
It's so. It's so good. It's so bad, but it's so good. Oh man. Man, what were some other funny commercials?
I mean, there were some classic ones that were around Christmas time, like the old, the original M&M's commercials, where it has the characters, you know, the red and yellow, and then like the Hershey Kiss ones, where they're like, whew, with like the little ribbon, you know, it's like directing like an orchestra, yeah. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
They
that's a great
still
one.
play that one.
The animation's great.
To this day, they play that one. Yeah.
And it's like whew, at the end.
After these messages, we'll
Yeah, all
be
the Saturday
right
morning
back.
like little
Yeah.
lead-ins and stuff, right? Yeah.
The jingles.
I was telling
Uh,
Catherine or
Saturday morning
Samantha about
cartoons.
Saturday morning cartoons and how great they were, and I was so sad that they don't exist.
I know I don't want to.
Let's save this for a geeky conversation,
I mean,
like once we start.
Uh,
It's okay.
All right, sorry about that, guys. I'm ready.
is this part of our? I mean, would
Well,
this be part of our?
it's
geeky
sort of
conversation?
two-sided, so or it would have been two-sided. All right.
Get all my sniffles out now. Good evening.
Yeah, ready whenever you guys are.
Okay, I'm ready when you're ready. If we're all ready, then we're all ready and we can do this.
Okay. What's up, Internet? You're listening to the Making Geeks Podcast, a podcast for makers, dads, and geeks. And this is episode 198.
Two more.
Two more. And speaking of two more, episode 200 is kind of a big deal around here. We have 4 years of podcasts, kind of culminating in that big number of, 200. And we're planning a pretty big event that we would like all of you to be a part of on October
8 p.m.
25th.
Eastern.
8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific time. And I don't know what Oklahoma goes by. I don't know.
Oklahoma time.
Okay.
I had to think about it for a second. 7
Oklahoma Standard Time.
Oklahoma has their own time. Okay.
It'll be on our YouTube channel. So if you're not a subscriber for that channel, then you're missing out because you don't know where it is. But just search for it. We'll have links up on all our social medias, individually and the collective podcast social as a whole.
Should be a good time. We're planning on having some special guests. We have some prizes to give away, so make sure that you
Yep.
don't miss out on it.
It's not the event we were hoping for at the beginning of this year. But as this year has taught us, don't hope for anything anymore. Yes,
Depressing.
that's what I've learned.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
we're so excited that we're going to be able to do this and celebrate with all of us and all of you, and we're looking forward to it. So make sure you don't miss out.
On with the show.
On with the show. So how you guys
Doing
doing?
good. Just I don't know. I don't even know. I did put out a video. I did. I put out a video on how to put a Raspberry Pi and a screen inside the original Lego NES set. This is sort of a spin-off video of stuff I'd been teasing for a while. When I first got the NES set, within an hour of me finishing it, there were people on the live stream that were like, when are you going to put a Raspberry Pi in there? And that seemed so simple that I didn't really want to do it because I already kind of delved into the emulation kind of side already with several of my other projects. But I figured it was a great primer for people that have never even done anything with Raspberry Pi. So I decided to do a little bit more of a tutorial side, a little deeper dive on like the details and like how to load the software. And it's cool because there's lots of different ways to go about the same thing with the Raspberry Pi. Like even in this project, like you could put the different parts in different parts of the build of the set. Like you could put the Pi inside the actual console and the screen inside the actual TV set. And there's like lots of room for creativity and adding things on your own. And also there's so many different ways to even load software on a Raspberry Pi and load the games on. I wanted something as simple and as clear-cut as possible. So I showed, I think, all the steps. I don't think I left anything out. How to load the operating system, how to transfer games over. And it seems to be doing all right. I was pretty pleased with how it came out. It was a relatively quick turnaround, I thought, from my other video. So hopefully I can keep that up within the next couple months. And another interesting thing of note, it's my first officially sponsored video. Like I actually did the product placement check on YouTube, which I never had done before. So I thought that was kind of exciting. Hopefully it wasn't too painful. I'm going to try to get better at them. But
and did you have to send it in to the company to get approval prior?
I did out of courtesy. They seem to not really. Yeah, it's been a little bit hard to communicate because it is a Chinese-based company, and the person I'm talking with, they're pretty well versed in English, but there are some things I think that are still lost in translation. Like why?
Well, because they're versed in English, not American.
But just like procedural things, I think some stuff would be a little more official than it was. I don't know. Like they sent a contract that was a little bit strange. It was just, you might as well just wrote it out on a napkin. I mean, that's the quality of there's literally no fine print to get snagged up in, so it seemed like fake. You know what I mean? So I don't know.
Yeah.
You mean how our contract should
yes.
be written?
Yes.
Really, really plain. You do this, you get money.
So I'm still working out some of the details on that, but I'm excited to see where that goes. And please leave me some feedback on how you thought it went. If I should do a little bit differently or ideas, that would be great. But yeah, that's what I've been up to. How about you guys?
Go ahead.
That's my life now. That's all I do is I edit. It's been really fun. It's been terrible and frustrating and fun and terrible all at the same time. But that's what I've been doing anytime I have a spare moment is editing that video. And I've got it down to about 16 minutes. I think I've re-edited part 1 9 times, I think. Trying to get the pacing, and I've gone through 17 songs just for the first part. There's 9 parts in this video, and just for the first part, I've redid it 9 times, gone through 17 songs. Because I'm if I can't nail down the first 3 minutes of this video, people aren't gonna watch the other 15, and it's not gonna make a difference if they're great or not if they can't get past this first part. So I have been honing and sending links and getting feedback, and it's I think I like where it's at now. It could probably be just a little better, but I'm focusing on the rest of the video now, and I am going to upload it regardless of where it's at, because when it comes to videos, there's no such thing as done. There's just uploaded. And so regardless of where I'm at, I am uploading the video Sunday morning, along with the plans, regardless of where they're at, which is slightly terrifying in the video right now, because of how little I've done on the plans. But regardless, Sunday morning, all of this past 5 months craziness is gonna head out into the world, and I'll see how my baby does.
So I will say that I was one of the privileged few that got to see an early cut of the video. And I think now I understand a little bit better of the monumental undertaking that you were trying to accomplish with this video. I'm hoping that some of my notes helped a little bit. Yeah. I think 16 minutes is
definitely
is a reasonable amount of time for what you're trying to stuff in that video. And I better understand the difficulty of really trying to be able to string that person along to get through, everything you're trying to show. So hats off to you. Good luck. Safe travels. This week has been kind of like all over the place for me. I haven't really gotten into any traditional making. I've done some things on the laser, but really not a whole lot to kind of show off. I've been putting a lot of my time into Inktober, which is kind of this nationwide event for drawing and just trying to be creative on a daily basis. I've been enjoying that. I did that for the first time last year. Loved it so much. I wanted to do it again this year, and I'm also doing it with my students. We're sharing drawings back and forth and ideas, and it's kind of opening up a lot of creativity that's helping me in a lot of different ways. It's a really good practice in creativity and abstract thinking, trying to think differently. And I also streamed on Twitch this week, which is really interesting, but I didn't stream anything making related. I streamed an esports match for the esports team that I run at my school, which was weird to stream that on the Geek Builders channel, but I did. And the next day I created a special one just for the school. So that was kind of weird, but I liked it, and I haven't streamed in a long time. And I think streaming itself is almost like a skill you have to kind of keep up with, because if you don't, it's really easy for things to get away from you. And I was trying to manage a chat of high school kids at the same time, which has its own level of challenge. But the interesting thing is, this is the first time I've streamed something where I wasn't the subject of the stream. I basically set it up so the game was showing. There's some software built in the game for a game called League of Legends. The camera will auto move and does pretty good job in showing the match, which left me as really kind of a broadcast producer of really managing the screens and everything else. And that was kind of fun. I liked it. I didn't do any announcing. I didn't feel confident enough to do that, mainly because I don't.
Did you add your own banter and commentary?
Well, I really wanted to, because I think it's fun, but I don't know enough about this game. I know how to play the game, but I don't know all the ins and outs, and I don't know. I'll
just get like a soundboard of all the the stingers and stuff from like Unreal Tournament, where it's like triple kill, multi-kill, headshot.
Well, it's pretty accurate for what happens in the game. Maybe I will. Just single.
Yeah, exactly. Dominating. Those are awesome.
This is a total side note, but have you guys played Among Us? Because if you haven't, I think it would be fun to play together and stream and record, and it doesn't have to be a podcast, but I think it would be fun to play that with you guys to see.
I don't even know what that is.
Like it.
Well, that could possibly be something that we've been talking about for later plans. We'll talk about at a later time.
Yeah. So just putting that out there in the world.
Yeah. There's a couple games that have kind of gained a lot of popularity. Among Us and Fall Guys are the two that people are talking about the most right now. So, and I haven't played either one. So, video games are pretty geeky, and we're into a lot of geeky stuff, which is going to be a very poor attempt at trying to bridge into our topic for tonight. And that is, what draws us to the geek? Why are geeky things so attractive to us? I never really put a lot of thought into it. But I had an interaction with a coworker, I think it was like a year or two ago, and I hadn't had this happen before. Guy about my age, also a teacher, and somehow we were on the topic of things we watch and pay attention to, and he said specifically he doesn't watch anything fantasy. He doesn't understand it, doesn't like it. Just there's like no appreciation for it. He only watches documentary, World War II stuff, military stuff, very much that type of personality. Nothing wrong with that, by the way, just saying that, kind of very much a contrast to, what we usually talk about on the show. And I was thinking to myself, like, I wonder what that's like. I wonder what the adverse reaction is to things that are fantasy based, why that turns people off, because I don't relate to that. I'm just wondering. But on the flip side, it actually, sets up a good question of why are we attracted, to those things? And if we've even, stopped to think about why we like the things that we like.
I was a little scrawny kid growing up, and so I was never built for like competitive sports. So I was never with the in crowd, regardless of my age, whether I was 6 or 16 or whatever. Like, I was never with that crowd. And I was an only child, not an only child. I have a little brother, but there's 7 years between us, and so I was kind of an only child for a while. And I grew up in a tiny town with only 2,000 people in the entire town, and so there wasn't a lot of people to do stuff with, especially that were my age. And so Saturday morning cartoons, honestly, is probably where it started. Because that introduced me to cartoons and superheroes and animation and all that kind of stuff that sparked a passion for literally the rest of my life, all based on what I was watching every Saturday morning. The only time I would really get to watch TV, because the only thing was on after school was news, because we didn't have cable. We had public channels, B7, 9/11, and if the president was on, he was on every channel. That joke. And so a lot of it was spun off of like the community that I was raised in, and not having access to like pop culture and only getting it through Saturday morning cartoons, and just liking that stuff, that world so much, led me into things like comic books and action figures and books and the world and the realm of geek that we now. So that was how I got into it.
Yeah, it sounds kind of similar to me as well. I was a very scrawny kid. Grew up in Richmond, Virginia, which is not a small town by any means, but also I was only child growing up. I had half sisters and brothers, but I never lived with them. Lived with my grandparents for most of my childhood. So I think a lot of the tropes and the things that interest me about things that are often geek related, a lot of times there's like an oddball kind of angle, or there's like an outcast kind of feel to it, which makes or an underdog kind of feel, which I kind of gravitate towards. So even today, if there's something where there's a story about like a bunch of misfits, that's like the common thing, like Firefly or Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, or any number of things where they like their strength is because of the diversity and their oddities and their weirdness, right? So I kind of gravitated toward those. And like you said, with the Saturday morning cartoons, same as well, plus the Disney afternoon shows. So anytime those came on, like Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers or DuckTales, Gummy Bears, those are like what I ate after getting out of school,
Yes.
in terms of television consumption.
Wonderful
Yep.
World of Disney on Sunday nights.
Some Ninja Turtles.
So good.
I mean, all the good stuff, right? He-Man, Transformers. Like I think a lot of those shows like influenced how like my personality as well. Like I always gravitated towards Raphael, like the snarky, smart-ass kind of character. Obviously, that's sort of like my bread and butter with a lot of stuff. So like, just in his comic timing and like how he like spun jokes off and everything. That's kind of I can relate to that still and like kind of relate and like draw a not a heritage. What's the word I'm looking for? Kind of like a parallel, I guess, or like a I don't know what the word is I'm looking for. It escapes me at the moment, but kind of like drawing like a line back through to those moments. Like kind of set the stage and like plant the seeds. Like Simpsons coming out, that was brand new at the time. That my grandmother didn't want me to watch it. That made me want to watch it even more. Like even if I was watching something on Saturday morning, and she heard, it's funny how the standards change. But if she just heard one character calling another character a fool, that was enough for her to turn it off, so I couldn't watch it. Like that level of strictness, I guess. But it wasn't so crushing that I couldn't watch anything. But that's kind of, it's funny how standards of cartoons like evolve. Like Simpsons was really bad, and then it was like Beavis and Butthead was really bad, and then it's like South Park, and it just kept upping the ante every generation, right? But
for me, it was Ninja Turtles. Ninja Turtles is the thing I couldn't have. I remember I had I had Ninja Turtle cards, like the baseball cards, that I would have to hide from my parents because they hated Ninja Turtles so much that like the second they found them, they took them away because it was Ninja Turtles. They were baseball cards. But I eventually got the action figures and everything like that.
Garbage Pail Kids cards, like those things were like kid gold. I mean, you just like smuggle them into into school, and it's kind of like kind of trade them in the back of the classroom. Like, hey, you have the atom bomb? Yeah, okay, I got one of those. Yeah. I need to complete that set. Or like the Desert Storm trading cards. Like I got a Schwarzkopf. Oh my god! Like what a weird time. Can you imagine if there were like current political playing cards now? Like it's just strange. Like you have like every pack had like a piece of a giant map or a puzzle or something. They're like, oh, I got that one. Like there's so many moments in Garden State that I remember because they referenced that card game and other things that from my childhood that I hadn't heard a lot of people talk about, like the stupid little hamster tubes. Like I had lots of friends with those, where the hamsters had like a little playground. Yeah, it was like a thing,
Tubes
and
everywhere. Yeah.
I don't know, just like little moments like that kind of, as you say, set the stage for things that are often attributed to geeky things nowadays, and obviously Nintendo. Can't understate that. How about you, Sean?
Yeah. Not to like push a stereotype, but I was really picked on as a kid, like horribly so. And I didn't have a lot of self-confidence or self-esteem or anything like that. And so it was very easy to find escapism in geeky stuff because it was going into a world that seemed so much better than the world I was in. Whether it was Gummy Bears or Ninja Turtles or, whatever. I can't talk about the origins of being a geek without acknowledging the fact that like being beat up and picked on as a kid really, really affected me becoming a geek. Maybe I wouldn't be a geek if I wasn't picked on as a kid, but I was, and so I am.
So it's funny how there's so many parallels with our backgrounds in a way, because I was an only child for the first 10 years of my life before my younger brother was born, and then 3 years later my youngest brother was born. So there's a 10 and 13-year difference between those siblings, and they're half brothers. I don't have any full blood siblings, so similar in some ways to the age gap or certain situations. Lived with my grandparents for a good amount of time and spent a lot of time there growing up. But my connection to the geek, I really blame on the rhetoric of the 80s. Because as a kid, I wasn't scrawny like the two of you said, but I was a little chubby kid, which isn't any better in a lot of ways. And a lot of the 80s properties, at least the ones that we kind of look back on somewhat fondly, are really about transformation. Transformers, more than meets the eye, knowing is half the battle with G.I. Joe, I Have the Power with He-Man. It's a lot of them are about transformation. So being a kid, being chubby, not being very popular or well-liked, there's always this desire of wanting to be something that I wasn't, or being something more. And, watching those things growing up kind of fed into a lot of that. The one thing that's different about mine is that, up until the age about 8, I was, all in with cartoons and that world in the 80s and just bought into it. I went through a family change after that time when almost all that stuff was cut out, where I wasn't really allowed to be geeky at all, or, play in that world of fantasy. Everything was just realism and sports, and, for a number of years. So basically from the age of 8 till, let's say, 18. Until I got to college and got into animation, and then I had to go into that world because the creativity and stuff demanded exposure to different things. So I had like this middle, 8 to 18, just kind of denying the things that I did like, and then not until being an adult, being really, being able to enjoy it and go back into it again. So it's kind of this weird wave, path for me of getting back to this point and really being able to enjoy it. And then the last 4 years roughly, since I started making things and getting to YouTube and starting Geek Builders, of really embracing it. And then as a father, being able to pass it on. So now it's here to stay. I'm not letting go of it again. So I have like I think we all have a personal connection with it, but yeah, it kind of cuts deep in some ways, for our childhood and the impact that it had on us.
Yeah, definitely. You said that's funny. You said that you had a gap there as well, because when I was 12, my grandmother that I live with, she passed away, and I moved to very rural Virginia, and so like everything changed, and like a lot of my toys and stuff, I couldn't bring a lot of them with me, or things happened, out of a kid's control, where you got to pick a couple things out of your room, and that's it. You don't, you think you can go back and get the rest of them, but something happened to them. I don't know whose decision it was, but I got like almost none of my like Transformers, almost none of my Ninja Turtles. I had so many Ninja Turtles and Transformers. I even had like, I think it was Predaking, which was like a 5-part Transformer set that like assembled together, and it wasn't even mine. It was my best friend's at the time, it was like his most prized possession, right? And I borrowed it, and I was that kid that moved away, and it disappeared, and I have no idea. Like, oh, no. It was in my room, and at whatever that one night was that I didn't realize was the last night I was going to be in that room, and all that stuff. Like, I'm sure my relatives grabbed a couple things for me, and yeah, I still feel bad about that. Like, I still contact.
Which is funny, because 2 weeks ago you were talking about your other friends being those friends that stuff would go over their house. And
you never know, right? Out of a kid's control. But, yeah, like, so I can relate to that. Like, having, have the new playthings that I needed to create were out of nothing. So, like, I would run out into the woods and into creeks and streams, and I had a Boy Scout, like, background, so I would, like, lash tree forts together and structures and stuff in the woods. Like, I was really good at knot tying, like ridiculously good. I would win like all kinds of merit badges and whatnot for it, and awards at like scout camps. So I could like actually do the proper knots to make structures you can climb up on and get like 2-story kind of things in the woods, kind of like in the Hook movie, like I think of like a Lost Boy, like building these crazy contraptions and stuff that are not to code, but they're super fun. Like little creek running through, build like a little dam, and so that was my new playset, was kind of the woods in a way. So, but I still kind of had that wanting to do more geeky stuff. Like I always had a Nintendo. That was one thing that my family always retained from my other household or my other home, but again, when I went into the military, a lot of that stuff I either gave it to cousins or sold it to other friends and stuff. So there was like a gap there where between 12 and 18 I lost a lot of the stuff just due to childhood events, right? And then from 18 to like 22, I intentionally and I chose to get rid of some of the stuff, because I'm going in the military. What am I going to need all this stuff for? And of course, I regretted that. Such an idiot, right? So a lot of it is rebuilding, collections, and yeah.
We're all within a relative age, within maybe 3 or 4 years of each other, I think. And I think that there was a certain push through the, I'm going to assume it was, similar for you guys, the late 90s of, that stuff is kid stuff. Once you're an adult, you have to kind of let that go.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever experienced that same thing. I remember that pressure a lot. And I bought into it too for like a number of years. Oh, that's kid stuff. I'm trying to grow up as much as I can and get out on my own. And then it's amazing how much of it has come back and is now mainstream and normalized. Like, some people still kind of find it strange or, might talk down at it, but it's such a part of regular culture now that it's, not as much just kiddie. Maybe a little
Well,
bit.
I think just to specify gaming in particular, because you were talking about, because you said, it's mainstream now. And I think it was a lot more prolific than we think it was when we were younger. It's just that nobody admitted to it or did it as much as we did, I think. Well, because come to find out, like, everybody was a gamer, but I was the only one that everybody called a gamer, even though, like, the jocks had Super Nintendos and Sega Genesis, and like they played as much on their video game systems as I did, but I was the geek.
I think video games are a weird exception though, because it's something that isn't as readily visible. I mean, you might have the console, you might have something on a TV, but are they wearing T-shirts that have Mario on it? Do they have posters up in their room? Do they have toys? I think there's a lot of things that go into.
Okay, fair enough.
I don't think it's that one singular thing, although I think it's a component.
Do they subscribe to Nintendo Power and Electronic Gaming Monthly and Game Pro? Do they watch Captain N and the Game Masters? Yeah. Like, come on, like, dude.
You have 5 copies of Lord of the Rings. You have a Matrix poster on your wall, or most of the figures from the movie.
So it's the fandom.
But I mean that is kind of a sense of it kind of like wearing it more outwardly instead of just being a fan of it, but I guess showing it maybe a little bit more.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember at a point in time that I never would have wore any kind of Marvel related shirt out in public. I just wouldn't have done it.
Really?
Nope.
Interesting.
Absolutely not.
Man, I remember, I think I was 10, and it was Halloween, and The Flash was really popular at that time, and I really wanted to be the Flash for Halloween, and so my mom and I got what are they called?
Yeah.
Thermals?
Mm-hmm.
The really heavy pajama, like a one-piece thermal pajama, and we dyed it red, and we cut fabric and pieces to do the logo on the pajama, and we did all the accents and the helmet with the little wings and everything like that. And I went to, because I was really into bowling at the time, because it was something fun to do after school. and everybody smoked, and so it always smelled terrible. And I was always like, I'm gonna get lung cancer because everybody's smoking, because it was before, you couldn't smoke anywhere. But there was this huge Halloween party, and I was one of the only people that dressed up, and people picked on me like crazy. And I was like, why are you this thing is awesome. What are you talking about? Like, this is so cool. Like, it's
18.
cosplay.
22.
Yeah. But no, it's so funny that it's like me cosplaying as a kid is not like what it is now. I think it's so cool that like cosplaying is popular now.
It's dressing
Because
up like
it's-
Halloween at
I don't know.
other times other than Halloween.
Yeah. It's cool seeing an element of my childhood, which
Embracing
I was
fandoms,
mocked
yeah.
and
Yep.
picked on relentlessly for. The kids nowadays are not, because it's cool. And so I am happy that my kids are growing up in a world where they will not be picked on for the things that I was picked on to the extent that I was, because it's cool now. It's cool now.
In
I like
all
that fact.
in all honesty, like starting around the age of maybe 12 or 13, I was more interested in trying to get the attention of the opposite sex, and I was willing to give up He-Man in
She-Ra.
order to get the girl down the road for me to notice me, which didn't happen anyways. But I mean, that's what I wanted, and I was willing to make that
Not for lack of
sacrifice.
trying, huh?
Right. That's a whole other podcast topic. Maybe not. I don't know.
I have so many embarrassing stories. That would be a fun podcast. Or a terrible one. I don't know. I get that, though. I mean, that stage of life where everything kind of shifts and changes.
Yep.
I never really gave up the stuff from my childhood, although I didn't continue with it. Like, I still had I still had all my toys and video games and all that kind of stuff as part of my decor in my room and all that kind of stuff, but I don't know, stuff that was popular at the time. I guess I didn't cling to that as much as I did to stuff when I was a kid. Yeah, girls change things.
Ugh.
It's just how it goes.
We get in the podcast.
Amen,
earlier.
brother.
Yep.
So what are you geeking out about? No.
It's funny going back and thinking, of those early influences. It's probably my own selfishness and my own memories to, when I say that I think the 80s were kind of a unique time for a lot of those geeky things. There was a lot more, I think, kind of for the first time really being invested in kids programming, especially because of the some of the federal regulations, though, too, that each one had to kind
Right.
of teach a lesson. And I think the trade-off was, okay, well, we could teach them a lesson, but then we could also have the commercials that'll convince them to buy this stuff, too. And that did go on into the 90s, and then it kind of tapered off. And I think that's kind of the end of it, because, even though there's a lot of shows that kids watch right now, I don't think the influence is the same, because you don't have the whole package of the commercials, the toys, not in the same way that I think we experienced in the 80s and maybe early 90s.
Yeah, it's funny we bring up the cartoon kind of stuff on Saturday mornings, because I recently had a conversation with Samantha about that, like how cool it was to get up early, before everybody else in the household, go downstairs, make yourself, whatever the sugariest cereal you can find, plop yourself in front of the television at just enough volume where you could like get into it but not wake anybody up. And just start pounding some Frosted Flakes or Lucky Charms. You had just seen the commercial where they told you what the next, design of the marshmallow is going to be. It was like the purple horseshoe or whatever. Like, oh my gosh, it's the purple horseshoe marshmallow rod. It tastes exactly the same, but it looks so cool. Yeah, like it was just like an experience. I remember thinking like to myself as a kid, like, how can life get any better than this? I'm never going to stop doing this. Like, why would I stop doing this? Like, having Saturday morning cartoons and eating, you know what I mean? Like, I remember having that thought, like, This
Yeah.
is this is the pinnacle of
Everything's
human
been
evolution. You know, of my life. It's all downhill from here. In some ways, it was, but other ways not. Like,
You know, you could ask anybody, and
Yeah.
they'll be really nostalgic about their childhood and things they thought were great growing up. And I don't think this is any different. Just the
Oh,
sheer
we were
amount of marketing
inundated.
that we were subject to, and the amount of sugar that was being thrown at us on a daily basis, and not having
Yep.
a care in the world. And as an adult, I have to care, which kind of sucks.
but she was just fascinated. Samantha was just like fascinated. Like, wait, there was you could like have cartoons on all the channels and like choose what you want. Like, it's not like Netflix where they have everything in front of them and they get to choose. It was like it was chosen for you. It was weird. Like, having infinite choices. You think that would be better? Yeah,
Lessens
somehow.
the experience.
I don't know. I guess it's kind of like at Star Trek when they have food replicators. Food just doesn't taste as good anymore because they can have anything they want.
Well, I also don't think that a kid, say under the age of 14, shouldn't have,
Yeah.
a ton of choices. That's more my philosophy. Some choice maybe, the choice should be between channel 2, 4, 5, and 7. Not
Sure,
80
Disney
shows
Plus,
on
boom.
Netflix.
I mean, that's just like,
I know.
It's also hard just because the type
Oh, yeah.
and quality of content has changed drastically. And I don't want to say it's looking through rose-colored glasses, but man, I feel like the cartoons were just a little bit better back then. I'm not saying there's not good stuff now, because there's stuff out now that man, it blows anything that I grew up with out of the water.
Mhm.
But as a
sorry,
whole,
He-Man, you're not
I
included
just
in this
feel like-
conversation. That does not hold up. But the Disney afternoon stuff, that animation is on point. Like, it's cinema quality, I think.
Yeah, I mean, Tailspin, Gummy Bears,
Mhm.
Chippendales Rescue Rangers,
Doug,
Doug
Yep.
was
DuckTales.
another one.
Darkwing Duck,
DuckTales.
Wuzzles,
like,
man, come on. No one remembers the
Darkwing-
Wuzzles.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
I do. I used to love that show.
Gargoyles,
And it's like it's hard to find
Goof Troop.
like shows that are objectively
Mm-hmm.
as good. I'm not saying they're bad. They're just
But
Bonkers.
those are the early 90s, though, too. Yeah.
bonkers.
Quack.
Yeah.
Was it a Quack Pack?
Animaniacs.
Oh, man. Yeah,
Mighty
Tiny
Ducks.
Toons. So good.
Tiny Toon Adventures. Yeah.
And what's funny is, like, a lot of those had such an impact
Because they
on
make
us
money.
that they're
We're the
bringing them
big.
back,
Yeah.
hoping that they'll make money. We'll
A new
watch them, but
generation,
We'll
yeah,
also
sure.
introduce them to our kids, a new generation.
Yeah.
Um,
Sometimes it works great, like DuckTales. The reboot.
It is. If you give it a chance,
is
it is.
amazing. The oh gosh, what is it? The
Oh, no.
Cats. Thundercats.
No.
The reboot of the Thundercats.
Did that ever come out? The
terrible.
new one?
So you never know.
The Thundercats
yeah, where
Roar?
the animation style is
Yeah.
like Adventure Time or something.
Ugh.
Oh, so bad. Oh my gosh, Johnny Quest. Yes, Johnny Quest. Oh my gosh, so many things. Yeah, again, not trying to look through it through the rose-colored glasses, but I just
I mean, even
feel like
like
it was
in
kinda
cereals,
better.
like the things you can get in the cereal boxes were way better back then than you can get now. Like, I literally it shows what time period this was in, but I remember getting Cookie Crisp because they had like small phonograph records in the actual like thing, and it was like some sort of story about the dog and the criminal and the cop. What are those characters, the mascots for that cookie cereal that don't exist anymore? Yeah, like you'd play it and it was like some sort of mystery. I have to look it up, but there's like a series of them that you could collect, and I had no interest in playing my grandmother's like record player. Like, I don't want to listen to Bing Crosby or something. Like, that's what she had, like that kind of level stuff. She typically played it most at Christmas time, but I digress. Yeah, like just the stuff that you could get out of a cereal box, like the amazing prizes and stuff to get you to want to root in there, and they actually had it in the actual cereal itself, where now they have them like in outside the liner or sometimes, or they kind of or it's like printed on the inside of the cardboard box. It's just like cheap garbage.
Yeah, so you have all these laws and regulations of how you can't advertise to kids now.
It's just, it's in the toilet. Like, I swear, I think a lot of my reading prowess came from reading cereal boxes. Like, because I remember actively sitting at the dinner table and read every single side of the box. Like, riboflavin, dude, I could, like, spout out some vitamins and minerals and some additives. Like, I would, like, pronounce them. I just remember pronouncing them out loud. Like, every single panel I would just read all the time. Like, because we didn't have the internet. Like, I remember, like, my grandmother, I'm sure I told this story before, but she had, like, a 1967 World Book Encyclopedia that had mostly black and white pictures in the, complete collection. Except for a couple tomes or a couple issues. They had, like, I mean, that's how they kind of were back then. And it was awesome. I would just, like, I remember sitting there and just, like, flipping through, looking for color pages because they were so rare. And, like, the S volume, for some reason, because of identifying snakes, they wanted to put color pages there. I, like, vividly remember the snake area because you had to identify them of what the different species were and other things. But I remember having, this is sort of a tangent, but I remember getting a book report or some sort of report for school and me failing this one assignment because my source material lacked the moon landing that I was, like, referencing. And so, like, I had, like, bad information. It was just, like, not complete information, and I didn't really realize at the time, and it sort of screwed me up a little bit, but which is hilarious. But yeah. Dude, Book It. That's the only reason. Yeah, that and cereal boxes.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
And the personal pan pizza for Pizza Hut.
I've got a Ninja Turtles.
I've
got the Ninja Turtles 2 arcade game for NES, like, box and the instruction manual. And on the back page, there's a clip out for a free personal pan pizza at Pizza Hut because actually in the game, there's, like, Pizza Hut signs in the game. And that was, like, the first instance I think that I can remember of, like, in-game advertising. But yeah, Book It, man. Oh, so good.
I still, to this day, have all my buttons.
They made us trade the buttons in.
I still have.
They made us trade the buttons in for the pizza. Yeah.
Really? No, I got like a coupon or something when I showed the button to the stuff. Yeah, I still have all my Book It, the big old buttons. With the stars, you wear it. The thing was ginormous. I mean, it wasn't.
I think I had a picture for the picture of the button.
Oh,
it's like a certificate.
I read so many books because of that program. Not that I didn't read books, because I love books. Like, I've always liked books. When my wife and I got married, I packed up all of my possessions into 15 boxes, into 15 moving boxes. 12 of those 15 boxes were books. My wife was so mad. She's like, we're not moving all these books again. So I like books, but yeah, Book It.
I think there's some sort of variant of it, isn't there?
Here we have something called AR.
Not very catchy, is it?
No, it's not. It's not sponsored the same way, but it's kind of there's a national ranking for books based on complexity of theme and number of words and all this other stuff, and they have to read a certain number of words per year. It doesn't have.
So I just looked it up. It does exist still. They have a similar logo. I'm still affiliated with Pizza Hut.
We don't subscribe to that one.
Book open and the stars going everywhere. I loved Book It. Oh man, and the Scholastic newsletter that would go out was like gold. Oh my gosh, because you got to see all the cool books. It's like, oh, I want that one. One. Oh, this is gonna be so cool. And it's
I remember everybody was buying the World Records.
You're right.
It's a popular one.
I would always get my buddy and I, the same friend who I inadvertently stole his favorite Transformer from. He would always get the Garfield books, like the compilation, like they were like really long, like form factor, and he would just have all of them. And I remember going to his house. He's actually the guy that introduced me to Weird Al too, and Nintendo. Like he had the Nintendo first. And that's the first time I ever played Mario Brothers, and I got stuck between the first couple pipes in World 1-1. Like I remember that distinctively. Like. I know. And apparently the Karate Kid NES game I did. Yeah. He told me later on that was another one that I had borrowed, which I ended up getting that back for him like a couple years ago and sent it to him. That was kind of fun. But yeah, it was just so many like formulative moments. Good times.
So do you guys support
absolutely
your kids in being?
I mean, look at Grant's room.
All right, good.
You will be a geek.
No, I mean, if my kids turn out not to be geeks, I'm okay.
I'm trying to teach Samantha it's important to embrace the weird. It's kind of like, something that still is a little bit lost in, like, wanting to conform to other things. Like, don't be afraid to do things differently, or enjoy things even if everyone else doesn't.
Yeah.
I'm trying to teach my kids a little bit more of not in comparison, but trying to teach them a balance between things, just because there's so much to consume right now. There's so much to geek out about that I'm really trying to kind of enforce getting away from just completely being surrounded by it all the time. Just because there's so many options now, and you could, 24/7 just surround yourself with, that stuff. And, my wife and I have a general rule where, that's okay to consume. You can watch these TVs, you can play some of these games, but you have to also create. You have to do something creative in the process to make something, use your own brain to kind of create your own, world, I guess, or, wherever you want to, put it, whether it's coding or, animating. My son's been animating a lot in Scratch right now, and that's how he's kind of creating his own things. So just trying to enforce that a little bit more with them.
That's cool.
John, you know that you're in pitch black, right?
I am?
Yeah, we can't see you.
Uh-oh.
Okay.
It's a good thing it's an audio podcast.
Transition? Yep. What are you guys geeking out about this week?
Here, let me show you.
We have been geeking out. That's okay, though. Let's see. There's got to be something.
Yeah, I think I need a minute, too, so...
Okay, so my wife's 40th birthday was yesterday. I had a lot of friends that recorded video messages for her. You guys did a great one, Sean. Thank you. I stitched all of them together into like a big collection that she could watch. A montage, yeah, thank you.
Montage?
And at the very end, it was like me and the kids, we like did happy birthday, Samantha played piano, kind of thing. And then I put like happy birthday in text, and then had it like staticky, and like it was fading out and like glitching. And then after like 10 seconds, Dule Hill from the TV show Psych, he had a message that I had secretly purchased, I guess. Like there's a service called Cameo, which you might have seen ads for on Facebook, which before this I completely scoffed at, and they had like celebrities on there that were sort of like D-list celebrities. I'm like, oh man, this must be like bottom of the barrel kind of stuff. Like, look at these guys, like pandering. This is super lame. Why would anybody get this? And then like literally the next week, like Dule Hill from Psych was on there and had like a little advertisement thing. I'm like, oh man, I'm gonna totally get this. What a idiot I have been. Like this treasure trove. And so basically, a lot of the individual like celebrities or whatever, they have like reviews and they have like sample videos that they've done for other people. And I got him to record a happy birthday video for Catherine, and it was like over 5 minutes long, and it was really good. It was hilarious. He did all kinds of quips and quotes and mentioning things from the show, and
it was
one continuous
one shot too.
Amazing. And her face was perfect. Like, she was just like, what? How did you, what? And she was just, it was great. It was completely worth it. And I would highly recommend that service, at least from him personally, if you're into Psych, the TV show, which is one of our favorites. We quote it all the time to each other. He kept calling her Boneless Boondoggle. So, like, a thing in the show, whenever they would introduce one of the characters to another, like, person, they would always, like, introduce themselves, and then secondary character someone else. Like, the name would constantly change. It was like a running gag. And so he made up, like, funny names for Catherine and myself as well. He called me, like, Silly Pants Jackson or something like that, which is a quote from the show. But it was awesome. It was really good. And so I was geeking out about that for over the last month. I, like, barely shared it with anybody, and I could barely contain it because I knew she would love it. And so that's what I'm geeking out about, is kind of celebrating her birthday. So
that was fun to watch.
Have you done
I'm geeking out about two things. One, Nick over at Run CNC. If you guys don't know, look him up on Instagram. He makes these custom clips for the Maker knife, and mine that comes with the knife snapped off, because it's my one complaint about this knife is that the clip was terrible, and it caught on like a door or something as I was walking by it, and just completely snapped off, and so I've been without a clip. So somebody recommended that I get in touch with him, and he made this new handle for me with my logo engraved on his CNC on this brass.
I think so.
Is this brass? Brass new handle for my new Maker knife, and it looks so cool. And so I've been playing, and it gives it weight. There's like more heft to it now, and it feels fun. Like it's like a fidget spinner for makers, is this little Maker knife. So I've been geeking out about that. And kind of going back to what I was geeking out about last week, I bought a new mini cinema lens, a prime lens, 35 millimeter for my camera, which I am so excited to start using, because there's a lot of things that I want to do with my movie theater that I'm building, and I think this lens will help get the kind of shots and dynamics that I'm really going for that one. So I'm geeking out about a lens and a knife. Very geeky stuff. Yeah.
Cool. I'm geeking out about nothing. I got nothing this week. I couldn't come up with anything. Maybe I'll just do two next week then. Actually, the one thing I'm geeking out about is episode 200 coming up. Just as a reminder for everybody, on October 25th, mark your calendars. We'll be streaming it on YouTube. Yep, be there. It'll be fun. Giveaways, guests. It'll be a good time. And you can also find out more about all of that stuff. You go to our website, MakingGeeks.com. You can find information on episode 200 there, and you can also listen to all of our past podcasts there on the site. And on the contact page, you can send in any notices or not notices, whatever I'm talking about.
Fill out your TPS
messages,
reports and all that stuff.
Yeah, I know. Any questions you have for the show or suggestions for topics, we love hearing those, and go ahead and keep those coming right there on MakingGeeks.com.
And if you want to check our stuff out individually, you can find us on your social media platform of choice, as long as it's Instagram or TikTok in my case. So if you want to see what Sean is doing, he is found over at Geek Builders. Wes is found at Geeksmithing. I am found at Once Upon a Workbench. So come see what we're working on. And yeah.
And we'd like to thank our patrons over at patreon.com/makinggeeks for helping us keep the show on the air with their financial contributions each and every time we post a podcast recording. We'd like to thank our top patrons as well, with a shout out: Square Splinter, Jordan Rimple, and Clinton from C3D Prop Shop. thank you guys so much for your support. We appreciate you very much.
And we'd like to say thank you to everybody in the live chat for hanging out with us. It's always a good time, kind of bantering back and forth as the show kind of goes on. And you can find new episodes of the show every Saturday on your favorite podcast player of choice. So from all of us to all of you,
I'll see you
fantastic
later.
week.
2 episodes
See you next
left.
time.
2 episodes left.
Take care. Yeah.